Hello, my name is Eric Schabell. I work for Red Hat. I'm a global technology evangelist. One of the focuses I have is on one of our suites, a collection of products that include OpenStack. And today we're going to look at how you can easily plan and deploy your OpenStack deployments. So if you pay close attention, I'm going to do it backwards. I'm going to show you how to install it first, and then we're going to talk about the planning afterwards. Kind of a strange way to approach it, but I think you'll understand once you see it. Anybody that's sat down and installed an OpenStack deployment, anybody done it inside of a day? I didn't think so. So this is one of the things that we were extremely concerned about, because the complexity just gets, and the time that it takes to do this just gets bigger the more stuff you start adding to your deployments. So when you look at something like OpenStack and then adding some kind of monitoring tooling to it, if you're trying to figure out what to do with, for example, an OpenShift development environment on top of that, it starts getting really complicated to install this stuff. So what is some of the bare minimums that you need around this kind of stuff would be it's got to work out of the box in some kind of repeatable fashion. And we would also like to have everything work as expected. So there's nothing like going through this big install process to do your deployments, think you have everything nailed down, and then you change one component in the future, and it turns out that part of your deployment now has incompatibility problems. It's a normal issue that you run into when using software. It just compounds it with the amount of release speeds that we have inside of open source. Okay, so let's take a look at this. It feels a little bit like this when you start doing multi-product deployments and start putting together a bunch of different software components in your architecture. If you're an architect that's responsible for monitoring what's happening in your organization, this looks awful familiar, right? Over time, it gets worse and worse. You hope not. You're doing your best. You're fighting this chain of events that's happening. So what we did is we put together a small thing called a Quickstart Cloud Installer. It's part of a product called Cloud Suite. It's a tool that we offer on the side. And I wrote an article around this that got quite a bit of attention online. You can Google this stuff. You can make a bet with your boss that you can install a fully working, non-trivial OpenStack deployment before lunch. We back this up with some, if you're a partner or a customer, we give you access to a remote machine that we host, where you can actually run through this deployment, run through this interface, and basically all you're doing right there is clicking on the things you want to select to put in there and deploying it. It's repeatable, it's consistent. There's two paths currently that it does. One of them is a virtualization with OpenShift on top, and the other side is with OpenStack virtualization, or OpenStack, OpenShift, and monitoring with CloudForms. So these are non-trivial installations. It's quite impressive to be able to do something like that inside of pretty much 4 hours. So anybody that's done any kind of serious deployments around this stuff, it can take up to weeks if you're doing it by hand. And we felt like it was a major goal to get this stuff down, and it should be doable, right? And keep an eye on this. This is the 1.0 release of this. It's just going to get more complex, provide more interfaces, and do more things as we move forward. Be aware you're looking at a web interface. This is done with the UX design team, so there's a lot of usability stuff we looked at to make this as easy as possible. It's not that you're going to be constantly putting in IP addresses and MAC addresses and defining all this kind of stuff. They try to make the pain go away of those kind of interfaces when you're dealing with an OpenStack deployment. Another thing to be aware of, how does this work behind the scenes? We interface with each one of these projects or each one of these components through the APIs. So it's not using, for example, the director interface. It's using the APIs underneath OpenStack, underneath OpenShift, to configure, deploy, and make all this work. Normally, in a talk, I would do a demo around this now, but we are severely constricted in time. There's no way I can show you any kind of demo inside of a couple of minutes. This right here is a recorded demo that takes the pieces that you're actually watching the install go, shortens them down. It's about 6 minutes. You can get it through this link online, and this whole slide set has been published about 2 minutes ago, so it's online. You can find this by Googling the title. So go ahead and take a look. It's also available on YouTube. Quite easy to find. If you can't read it there, it says it's avimo.com. My first name, last name, Eric Schabell, Quickstart-Cloud-Installer. It's really fun. Okay, moving on to the second half, when we're talking about works as expected, here's the planning phase. When you get to the part where you're looking at the various components and things are getting released, what do we do about compatibility? What's supported? There's a vast array of features inside of a release of OpenStack. There's a vast array of features in virtualization. How can we mix and match these different components, and what features don't work together for older versions versus new versions of OpenStack, things like that, right? It's always a puzzle. That's basically what we're looking at here, right? This is a puzzle to put this stuff together. You never know what's going to happen. If you go online today, we've had this thing for quite a while. There's a large array of stuff that Red Hat provides that you can click on. And it's a little bit hard to see here when you're looking over here, but over here you see the various products that are involved in that first architectural thing. So OpenStack, Cloud Suite, Cloud Forms, Satellite, Rev, RHEL, all these different things. You can select the exact version numbers, and you see that they cover a whole span of versions that are available today. And you can click and match, and at the bottom, that's just one of the matrices that pops up. But you get a spreadsheet view of what works and what doesn't, and what works partially, and what that means. So if you click on that, it'll pop up and open up in your browser with which things are not working and which things are shaky. Mostly you're going to find really funny things happening when you're using a very modern version of one thing and a very old version of another, which is a normal thing to run into an architecture. So before you make your plan to go do something, it's rather nice to step back and take a look and be warned ahead of time, instead of having to run into this, Google it, and find out that something didn't work very well. We maintain this moving forward. It's almost a living roadmap. They're working on automating this fully to attach it to our product managers and things like that. It's really a nice tool to play with. We get a lot of questions answered by this tool that come from the customers normally to us. So they're able to dig into this stuff a little bit and double check before they get started. Again, don't believe me. I would normally demo all this for you. We have another video. This one's a little bit shorter because it's not a very complex thing. You can look at this on your own, on your phone, or whatever you want to do. Okay? It wouldn't be any good if I didn't give you a bunch of resources to go play with after we're done here. So I've got things in here, including the first two links I showed you, but now for YouTube, in case you're a YouTube fan versus some other thing. There's also a whole story around that Cloud Suite. There's also 4 use cases that are backed up inside of that architecture that have to do with why we put together this deployment planner and why we put together the Quickstart Cloud Installer. I appreciate everybody taking pictures, but really it's online right now. Just Google the title of the thing and you'll find it. This is a pretty small thing. It's probably not going to show up very well. And then at the bottom, you can see the article I referred to about install your cloud, OpenStack Cloud before lunch. It's kind of a funny take on, hey, it only takes 4 hours. You might as well make a bet and get a profit out of it, right? You'll be the first one in your company probably to do it. Thank you.